Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me for another episode of A Moment of Honor with the Sanctuarian. Today, I am honored to have Tracey Loops here with us. She is a parent and teen coach. Welcome, Tracey.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. It's great to be here.
I'm so glad you were able to join us today. How about you just tell our audience a little bit about the work that you're doing? Because that is what our series is about this year.
Well, thank you so much, first of all.
Yes.
It's great to be here, and it's actually great to be able to talk about this work because the work that I do, it's all about parents and teens. The work that I do is very much focused on the relationships that we as parents have with our teenage children. And it's also about the level of awareness that our teenagers have about what makes them great and what lights them up, beyond the world of drugs and alcohol. Like what really is truly their essence and what are they about? So that's the work that I'm in. What I really do believe is that that healing, when it happens in a family, it sets up future generations for so much more. And I truly believe that if we're ever going to get to world peace, we've got to get to peace within our families first. Excuse me, our families first. That's where it begins. And so it's about really putting our attention and our energy into how are our families functioning or not functioning? What's serving, what's not? And what does it look like for everybody in the family to be able to show up in their full, true essence, where they're responsible for their impact and able to just be their great self, frankly, because we all have greatness in us. So
that's amazing. And so, what inspired you to really go into this avenue of work? Because as many of you know, there's so many different aspects of coaching in the coaching world. What made you want to go into this lane of specifically working with parents and teens?
Yeah, so I started working with my very first coach, Jeff Lawton, who I love and adore to this day. I started working with him when I was about 30 years old. And I'd never heard of a coach before. And my dear friend Susan had connected me with him. And she said, you need to work with a coach. And I was, rising and what's the word? Ascending the corporate ladder at the time, dealing with different struggles and frustrations and how do I do all of this? And so I hired Jeff as my coach. And through coaching with him, what became very clear is that there was a lot from my childhood, from my relationships with my parents that had impacted the way that I was showing up as an adult, as a young adult, as a professional. And so I started on that journey of self-discovery and did some work with the younger parts of myself, because we all have those younger parts that live inside of us. And so he really helped me with that. And what I realized in that is that when I was a teenager, I needed a coach. I needed someone who could see me, could help draw out the beliefs that were no longer serving, right? Or beliefs that may never have served. And to help me to see what my unique gifts, talents were, to help me see what was holding me back. And that if I could overcome this, what could be possible? And if I could actually see myself in a more, with more clarity and a deeper understanding of who I am and what made me tick, and actually gave myself permission for that. Had I had someone like that, my choices would have been very different as an adult. So as I was doing work with Jeff, I realized I need to become a coach that works with families.
Yeah.
That works with parents and their teenagers to frankly bridge the gap. Because as parents, we're not taught how to parent. We're not taught. And whatever unresolved issues we have as parents, we're bringing that into the way we parent our children. And so the opportunity definitely in a family situation is for the parents to do their work in advance and at the same time as the kids are doing theirs. And
Yeah.
so that's where I meet family systems.
And what I think is so great about that too is you're giving both of them a voice. You're giving the parents the voice to really have that safe space where they can come talk and work through the things and learn the tools that they need to really be able to communicate better and create those I want to say more deepened and full relationships with their teens. But on the other hand, you're doing the same thing for the team. They're getting to have a voice. And a lot of the times where they may not. They may not be able to have that opportunity, whether it's in school or athletics. They're getting to have that safe space as well where they can bring their struggles and the things they're working through because being a teenager is hard. And I think a lot of us forget about that, and we think just being an adult is hard, which it is. But being able to know that there's different stages there that we were all working through different things, and that you now are able to take them through those steps because eventually they may be parents, so they're going to learn things that they can then share. But then bringing that family dynamic together and learning how they can work together and just have that open communication, I think is essential. And I think that might be a lost art too, and just the way that we're living nowadays, where everything's technical, like it's all about the technology. You're not getting that face-to-face interaction anymore, especially with this pandemic that we.
Oh my gosh, the pandemic has created so much stress in families, so much stress with teenagers. Our kids are struggling. They're not getting they were cut off from the social interaction, meaning face-to-face, person-to-person, for a long time. And so social anxiety is at an all-time high right now, just because of reintegrating, right? And masking gives you a certain amount of anonymity, right? And so once masks go, which I'm hoping at some point they will, because we'll get to a point where we can, that's going to bring its own unique set of issues. But our kids are stressed. Our kids are going through a lot. Parents are stressed because we as parents are watching our children struggle. And we're trying to figure out what is the right thing for me as a parent to do? What is in support of my child versus what is enabling bad behavior? Where's the balance? How do we really know what that balance is? And those are the questions. Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of the pandemic, is there any kind of tips or advice you would give parents who may be struggling with how to really approach these situations with their teen, who may be struggling from, not having that stronger community of friends or things like that that the pandemic may have brought on?
Ask questions, stay curious. And the key to this is it's about staying curious without judgment. So one of the things that I remember learning in coach training, and it stuck with me, and now I train it, is that curiosity is the antidote to judgment. So if as a parent you're standing in judgment of your child, that is a perfect opportunity for you to flip it and ask a question with genuine curiosity, to really to listen to understand as opposed to listen to respond. And that's a really important distinction that I actually am. So I'm going to say it again.
Yes.
Listen to understand instead of listening to respond.
And I think that's important for just general conversation, not just with your family dynamic, parent and teen. I think that is important in any walks of life, any kind of relationship communication you have with anybody, because I think, like you said, more of us are listening to respond, so we're not actually catching what they're saying, and so we may be responding in a way that isn't beneficial for them, or even the proper response of what they were expecting.
You're actually talking about, the concept of active listening.
Yes.
As because when you're listening to respond, you're not really listening. You're
Mhm.
listening. You're actually constructing your response, so you're partially listening, right?
Absolutely.
And the opportunity is, what if you actually dropped all of your agenda
Mhm.
in service of literally listening to what the other person has to say, to reading the cues, right? The body language, the energetic shifts in the person, to be observing and listening and taking it in and being fully present with the other person. And I will say that as a society, one of the things that we're not great at is being fully present.
Mhm.
Meditation is a great way to start practicing that, to
Yes.
get fully present at any given moment. And it's really crucial and critical. And it greatly impacts the quality of our relationships when we're able to be fully present versus having, one focus over here while I'm sort of listening to you, and where we're not really fully engaged.
Absolutely. And so I want to take this and kind of bring a full circle for everybody. Is yes, you do this great work working with parents and teens, and being an entrepreneur. Have you noticed, especially in this 2 year span of this pandemic, things that you've kind of need to restructure or a different approach that you take it when working with your clients?
Mm. Yeah, well, the pandemic really, for many people, it forced everything virtual, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
everything went virtual. The great news is I've been virtual for years before the pandemic ever hit. So most of my coaching is and has been over Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I will say that's really great about that is that kids can be in their own space. Parents can be in their own space. Nobody's having to worry about scheduling, dealing with traffic to get to an office, right? To talk to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
The benefit of it is I get to coach people all over the world. So, I have a bit of an accent. I'm originally from England, but I've been living in the States most of my life. And I will say that it is an honor to work with people throughout the globe. Because the truth is that teenagers are teenagers no matter what country you're in. And while
Yes.
there are definitely cultural differences, what I will say, though, is that the teenage brain is still developing. There are hormones, there are family dynamics, there are cycles that are ready to be broken in a family system, right? In lieu
Mm-hmm.
of better relationships, in lieu of more peace, in lieu of actually enjoying each other instead of resenting each other. So what I will say is that the pandemic has forced everything online. So now there's actually more comfort with that. And so whether I'm working one-on-one with a parent or a teen, we do family Zooms where we're in a situation and I'm helping facilitate, moderate, and coach through a situation, circumstance where everybody gets a voice. And the cool thing about Zoom is that nobody's like fighting for the camera space. Everybody's on their own screen. They've
Mm-hmm.
got their own space. So energetically now everybody's on an even playing field,
I love that.
which is really, really important for us to know that we're all on an even playing field. And if we can start out there, anything and everything is possible from that place.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, kind of staying in the business track, I know you've got some amazing things in the works, and I don't want to go too in depth yet. We can't give the full surprise away. Can you give us a little hint on kind of what that's about?
Well, yes. So I am working on an online program for parents. It's a membership-based program. And so it will involve access to me a couple of times a month, which I'm very excited about. So not only will it be tools and techniques, right, and some good work to be able to do as a parent, but it also involves community, connection, and real-time coaching to support you. So that's coming. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
We don't have an actual launch date yet. We're going to be doing a beta program first.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be launching a smaller version of it in the hopes of getting some really good feedback, because we want to meet people where they are. Right. I
Absolutely.
mean, I feel so strongly that we as parents, we need support. Our kids need support. So we
Mm-hmm.
need to know that we're not alone. And we need the opportunity to be able to speak freely about the kind of stuff that's going on. So it's about creating safe space for the conversation with an eye to solving, right? And getting to the other side, becoming more aware and more responsible and having better impact. So that's cool. So that's coming. And yeah, I'm going to be speaking a whole lot more. Like there's a whole lot more going on in terms of me out and about talking about this, because like I said, I just think the way that we are in our families is it impacts the way we show up in the world, whether professionally, personally, whatever the case may be. So it's really important for us to take stock of all of that.
I'm so excited. I can't wait. And I'm on the inside, so there's so many great things that are coming. And one of the great things is there is so many ways you can actually connect with Tracey. So can you tell our audience a few of the ways that they can connect with you?
Absolutely. So you can reach out to me through my website, which is traceylukes.com. traceylukes.com. There's a rebranding coming, by the way, but that's not set to launch quite yet, but not far off. We're getting there. So you're going to be noticing some changes there. But the truth is traceylukes.com, that's the best place for you to go. You can schedule time with me. So if you are struggling in your relationship with your teenagers, in your relationship with your spouse, I mean, any kind of relationship scenario, if you're dealing with a difficult boss, if like any of that, because it's all the same stuff. It's the same issues. It's just needing support and a coach that can help you through it. If you are struggling with any of that, I would welcome, and I'm offering any of the listeners here today, a complimentary conversation. So you can sign up through my website, go to traceylukes.com and sign up for a 30-minute complimentary session. So no obligation. It's not a sales pitch. It's actually an opportunity to take a look at what's going on and to have you walk away from that 30-minute conversation with a plan, with something that you can do, something that you can start to shift to make some improvements. So there's that. What else am I missing, Jocelyn? What else am I missing?
So we also have your social media platforms.
That's right.
So you're on Facebook, Instagram, and I believe business page on LinkedIn.
That's correct. Yeah. LinkedIn business page. Yes.
Absolutely. And so all of those links are in the chat. I have put them in there for your convenience. So make sure you check them out. Follow her on the pages so you're getting updates about the new things that are coming as well. And she does also have a great lead magnet. So if you go to her website, you can actually fill out this little form and she gives you a tip sheet right to your inbox. So make sure you subscribe to that as well. And her link to schedule that complimentary call is also in the chat. So make sure you check that out. Take advantage of all of these amazing resources that she has to offer. Is there any last minute tips or advice that you have for any of our listeners that are either watching live or later today?
Absolutely. So no family situation is permanent. Just know that. And it's never too late. It's never too late to put the attention to healing and repairing your relationships. It's never too late. So I've worked with adults my age, right, in their 40s and 50s, repair relationships with their parents in their 70s and 80s. So it's never too late to put your attention to that, to make a difference. It's just never too late. And I would say by you being willing to do the work, you're actually healing 7 generations forward, because that's what the research shows, that when you shift, when something shifts in a family system or in any relationship system, that it does it 7 generations forward. So just think about that. You have the opportunity, to change the world. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tracey, for joining me today. It was a pleasure to have you on. You have so many great resources. So everybody, please check out those links and make sure you get that conversation with her. And we will see you soon on another episode of A Moment of Honor. Thank you again, Tracey.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. Take care.